Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and today is a beginning of my three-part series on Power Apps permissions. This also includes Power Automate. So today I'll be focusing primarily on getting access or giving access, and in the next ones I'll talk about removing access and also providing temporary access. So I'll be going through a whole bunch of options over there, also providing from a CDS versus non-CDS. So it kind of helps both ways to look at it. And I'll be going mostly with examples and answering a whole bunch of questions that I've always been asked on this topic. So before we deep dive into that, here's my intro. So like I mentioned before, this is going to be a three-part series, and we'll be focusing on, part one, give user access, part two, remove access, and the third one will be temporary access, which is actually a request that I've been asked before. And the common questions that I just talked about was of these kinds, like, do I always need CDS to give permissions? Can I either do it at a per user or a per app level? And, Power Platform admins, do they also need licenses? So there's a whole bunch of questions that I've been asked about permissions, which is why I thought I'll go ahead and do this three-part series over there. And as you already know, I'm more of a demo-driven person. So I've actually come up with with two big combinations of how I can show some demos right from building the accounts. And I'll walk you through that. And I guarantee you that will answer all these questions over here. So as of this video, we're going to talk about giving user access or give user access. So what I thought is I'll break it down into these three scenarios: at the service level, at the environment level, and at the app level. I won't be focusing too much on giving the data app, the backend data permissions, because this is all about Power Apps and Power Automate, and that's how these, permissions are set up over there. So just to give you a little bit more information, the permission use cases will be of all these three environments, like all these three types. Service actually talks about Power Platform admin at the tenant level. So how does that work? When it comes to the environment level, there's actually two types: at the giving a system administrator level access or at the maker level access. Over there, that's tied to the environment. And then finally, when it comes to the app, there's also two types over there: the owner and the user. And just to let you know that when it comes to the owner, it's actually the same thing as the environment maker, because the environment maker is the one who's going to create the app, therefore same as the app owner. So now that you understand these kind of three variations that I'm going to go through, I'm going to now jump in and first start talking about how and where I've got these accounts set up. So let's look into that. First things first is I want to straight go into my Azure AD and take a look at all the accounts that I've already set up over there. And I've got a few of them, so I want to walk you through that. The first one is I've gone ahead and logged in as global admin and set up two types of basically Power Platform admins. I take that back. One Power Platform admin. Because that Power Platform admin has got the actual role as well. So what I did was I came over here and I went ahead and created an account called Power Platform admin, and that's the account name over there. But more important than just creating the account is the role that I created for that. So I came over here and I'm going to go ahead and look at on the Azure AD over there, go to roles and administrators, and over here just search for Power. And in the Power Platform Administrator, you will now see my Power Platform Admin over there. That's very important for this account because this is again at the tenant level I talked about. And I have either the service account or I can be you who will be at that level over there. And that's very important to have that one account because that's the person who's going to walk in and do most of the setting up over there, right? To even assigning the environments and stuff like that, right? So that's the first one. Second categories are the environment admin. So now we're coming down, we finished the tenant one, we're talking to the environment level. So for the environment ones, I'm going to talk two scenarios. One is an environment without CDS, and the other one is the environment with CDS. So what I did is I went ahead and created two accounts for that. So for the environment ones, the environments without CDS, I've actually created an account called Luke. So over here, if I go in and now back to my users, I've got Luke. And Luke Skywalker, get it? It's a Star Wars thing. Luke Skywalker over here. Luke is going to be my environment level admin, and this is the environment without CDS. Now let's go and take a look at this. There's no groups or roles over here, but what I want to show you is the licenses. The license is pretty straightforward. All I've done is assigned an M365 license. And I assigned an E5. Again, E5 doesn't do anything magical when it comes to Office 365 the Power Platform over here, specifically for this purpose. You could do it in E3, you could do it as a business one, whatever you want to give. But I would recommend giving the highest one that you have specifically for both the environment one and for the environment maker as well. Speaking of the environment maker, I've got a environment maker for that environment without CDS, and over there I've named that person as Finn. So I'm coming over here. This is Finn. Again, Finn is going to be that environment maker for that environment without CDS. And here is the license that I've assigned for that. All right. Again, same thing as the environment admin. Nothing fancy. Just went ahead and set that up over here. So I've gone ahead and finished that piece. Now let's go and take a look at the other two, which is environment admin and the environment maker for those which have CDS. And there's a little bit of difference over there. So for the environment with CDS, I've gone ahead and created an account, and I've called that account as James. So here is James. Now you get this is more on Star Trek style, James Kirk. Now James, he has a very special type of license. Now he's got the basic M365 license over there, but he's also got the Power Apps per user plan. And that's important because what happens is when you start doing CDS, over there, the permissions change a little bit because the permissions are not just tied to the Active Directory over there, but there's things which happen in the back end where some of the permissions are gone ahead and saved on the CDS side. It's very important, especially for the environment admin and the environment maker for environments that have CDS to also have this license over there. Otherwise, you will not be able to see those environments. And I guarantee you that because I will be showing it over here. So James Kirk was the environment admin, the environment which has CDS. And I've also gone ahead and created another one who has the environment maker. And that environment maker is going to be Spock. So I come over here. And Spock is going to be my environment maker, and the environment has got the CDS. So I come over here, and his licensing also is very similar as the environment admin. It's got the simple M365, but it's also got the Power Apps per user plan. Very important to have that plan if you want to see the environment which has the CDS. All right. So finally, I went ahead and created a simple account. This is just going to be your everyday user. User doesn't care what type of environment it is. All user cares about is, hey, there is an app that I need to access. Can I access it? And that user is McCoy, the Dr. McCoy. So I'm going to come over here. And this is MC McCoy over here, all right? Come over here, and I see McCoy's access. It's just a simple 365 and 365 access over here. And, 365 E5 is what I added because that's available in my tenant. You could be E3, you could be a business account, whatever you want to give for that user over there. So I took care of the licensing piece over there. Took care of the users, the licensing. The one last thing I want to talk about over here is the security group. So I come in over here and I'm going straight in my Azure AD and I'm going into groups. And in my groups, I've got in and created a security group called Power Platform USS Enterprise Environment SG. Now, if you've already captured a hint, I'm going to be creating an environment and I'm going to call that as USS Enterprise. And that environment will be where I have CDS turned on. But I've gone ahead and already created a security group. And in that security group, I've created the owner as James Kirk. The owner is the exact same person who's the environment admin. But the members are James Kirk, who's the environment admin, and I also got Spock, who is the environment maker. All right. So both of those, I went ahead and added that into that security group because I'm going to use that security group. And it's very important that we have people over there. So I've taken care of most of the things on the Azure AD side, users, security group, went and showed you what licenses they have over there. So I've answered a big chunk over here. Now let's go ahead and switch gears and focus our attention on the Power Platform side. So the first set of things I want to focus on is an environment without CDS, all right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to log in to my Power Platform. And I'm logging into my Power Platform as the Power Platform admin right at the admin level. So we haven't even gone at the environment level. I'm just logging in at the environment, at the admin level. So I'm coming in over here and I'm signing in to the Power Platform because I'll go ahead and at least create an environment. So I've logged in here. Here's my account, logging in, signing in. Everything is good. And here I am. I'm logged into my Power Apps. Right now I'm at the maker level. And here, as you can see, since I'm at the Power Platform at the admin level, Power Platform admin and that role, I am able to pretty much see everything. I mean, this is all the environments. Because remember, I've logged in as the Power Platform admin, who's part of that role, that Uber access when it comes to the Power Platform. That Power Platform admin is the highest level over there. Now, let me go in directly into the admin center, and I'm going to create our first environment. And remember, this environment doesn't have any data connection, which means it doesn't have any CDS. So let me actually delete this one because I will not be able to create anything else. I'll refresh that. So the first environment I'm going to create, and I'm going to call that environment name. Let me come up with a fancy environment, and I'm going to call that as Millennium Falcon. All right. So let me get the names. Make sure I don't make any mistakes. Millennium Falcon. For the sake of this demo, I'm just putting it as trial. See, create a database for this environment. I'm saying no because I don't want any CDS over here. All right. Everything looks good. Go ahead and click on save, and it is going ahead and creating this environment. Now, remember, because I have not used create any database, it doesn't have to spin up any entities in the backend, which means this environment is really fast. I mean, you notice it says, hey, new environment, Millennium Falcon has been successfully created. It went ahead and created, and it's not even telling me that it is in the process or anything. It is done. It is created. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And the very fact that when I hover my mouse over that, you see the finger means I have access to this environment. You'll see that a little different in the other scenario. Now here is a very big important thing I want to show you is we created an environment without its own database. Therefore, the only two access type options you see are environment admin and environment maker. Remember this because this is going to change when we go and create the CDS one over there. All right. So now that I'm here, even if I go and click on edit, I don't see any options. I mean, I see the refresh cadence and I can change that to frequent, to moderate, but this is it. So kind of keep that in mind because it's a little different in the next one. Now, environment admin, we've already gone ahead and made an account for the environment admin without, in this scenario, right? See, environment admin for this one is going to be Luke. So let me go ahead and add Luke. So Luke is the one that I created. I can come into the environment admin over here, and in the environment admin, I can go and click on add people. I can even have the option to add everyone in my org. But for the sake of this way, I'm going to go ahead and say just add Luke. Luke is going to be the environment admin over here. Again, reminder, this is the one which does not have that CDS turned on. So I've got the environment admin set up over there, Luke Skywalker. Go back into the admin center. I'm also going to go ahead and set up the maker. And in my case, the maker is going to be Finn. So let me go and grab Finn's account. I put this over here. And in this case, if you notice, it's very simple, straightforward. I don't have to go ahead and create any security group. It's very, very simple over here. Just go in, see the two accounts, and see the two roles, assign them over there, and we are done as far as permissions and things set up over here. So much so that I actually want to log in as both Luke and Finn just to see, hey, do I even see that Millennium Falcon over there? Because most of the time, that's one of the biggest frustrations people have had is that I've given all the access, I can't see the environments. What is going on? Well, let's go and test that, all right? This scenario of no CDS turned on. So remember, Millennium Falcon is our environment. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out just to make sure that I don't have any issues on authentication whatsoever. Hang on a moment while we sign out. That is all. All right, good idea to close the browser. Let me click close that tab. Let me go and sign out over here as well. This should go a little bit more faster. Nice. Now let me go back into the in private mode. I know I'm going a little bit fast over there, but this is not something you want to focus on. The focusing is when I get in as each of the clients. So the first one I'm going to log in as is the environment admin in that non-CDS environment, which is the Millennium Falcon. So I log in over here, and I'm going to log in as Luke because Luke is our environment admin. And when I log in over here, as long as everything has gone well, I should see my Millennium Falcon. And I've come over here, and voila, I see my Millennium Falcon. Now, I don't have any apps or anything, but because I've set up the permissions correct, I've taken Luke, assigned him a correct license, went into the Power Platform, and gave him access to the maker. I am here in my Millennium Falcon. it showed up, the environment immediately showed up, and I logged in, and I'm able to see that app over here. But remember, this is me as an environment admin, so I'm able to see quite a lot over here. But just to make sure I'm correct, now I'm done with the environment admin. I've tested everything, looks good. Let me go ahead and sign out. Let me go ahead and yes, confirm I want to sign out. I'll hang on for a moment. Let me make sure that this thing cleans out. And once it does, I'll close the browser. I'll close it, come back in private mode. And now I'm going to log in as Finn, who is the maker. Because what the maker is going to do is he's actually going and create an app. So let me go in there. Let me go and grab his password, put that in over here, sign in. And first thing is Finn, as the environment maker, needs to see that Millennium Falcon environment. All right, we've done everything correctly. I'm pretty confident that there we go. We are in the Millennium Falcon. So in the Millennium Falcon, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and quickly create an app, right? No emphasis on the data source or anything. This one is emphasis of quickly creating an app. So I'm going to come over here and actually have an app already created. So let me just go and grab that app. Just upload that MSPP file. And that app is going to be uploaded because I'm going to create the app. Then I'm going to go ahead and assign McCoy, who's our everyday user. I'm just going to give him access to this app. Now remember, this app again is in this Millennium Falcon without that CDS. So went ahead and save that. Saving that in. This app in that environment, Millennium environment. Go ahead and close it. I can close this tab over here. Let me just refresh it. And I have this app. But now, before I get off, I want to share it. Let me share this with McCoy. Remember, McCoy is our everyday user, and I'm just giving him an app, access to this app in that environment. And if you remember, this also, McCoy doesn't have any Power Platform access, Power Platform license. He's just got the everyday M365 license over there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the share. In addition, while I'm here, I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to do the, I can actually come over here and in details, I can grab this URL. So if I click on it, I grab that URL, which is Control-C, and I'm going to paste it, save it over here. So without CDS, I've just saved that URL. I'm going to do that to prove a point. All right. So let me close this off. Remember, I'm going to now sign out of Finn, who is the environment maker. So I'm going to sign out. Yeah, I want to sign out. And now I'm going to log in as our everyday user, which is McCoy. Yeah, let me close it. Get in a nice private view. And the reason I'm showing this private view and everything is so that you also get into the habit of that. Either you can use this or you can use the Google Chrome in the Cognito mode. Either one of them, do it this way. First, patiently make sure that you sign out and then you sign back in over here. So now we're logging in as McCoy, our everyday user. Let me go grab his password, put that in, sign in. And here is McCoy in. And right now, I think that McCoy is definitely going to see the default, but that's all he's going to see. He doesn't see anything else because remember, he doesn't have any elevated access level. Plus, he's just an everyday user. He's not an admin. He's not a maker. But because we've given him access to that app, as long as I have the URL, he can access the app. That's why I grabbed this URL. And watch, if I go ahead and click on this, keep it over here. If I literally paste it in, it just automatically takes his authentication. And I'm able to see the app. No errors whatsoever that you can't see the app or anything like that. It shows right there. I can use the app. As long as I had any of the data sources, which were the standard connectors, which were functional for the, M365 account, I could go ahead and even use that. That's a separate discussion, so I didn't focus on it. But all said and done, McCoy, everyday user, has access to that app in a completely separate environment over there, which was created by the maker. So this is a very important thing that I want you to understand is that it doesn't matter where that app is. As long as this user has access to it and access to the data source officially, as long as he's got the URL, he's able to access it. Now, the environment makers and the environment, admins were the only ones who have access to those environments, and I proved that to you. So this is the first scenario where I was able to create an environment without CDS and then go through those permission sectors like I talked about. All right. Now let's jump into the second scenario where I do have CDS, because that changes things a bit. All right. So I'm going to just make sure that I get out of here. I want to sign out, because I'm going to delete this old environment and I'm going to come back into the other one. So just give me a sec. And to quickly do that, I'm going to log in. So let's log in now as the Power Platform admin to create that second environment where database is turned on. So my logging in over here, Power Platform admin, my Power Platform admin account is signing in here. Remember, this is my Power Platform admin, which has the access, which is part of that role. So I come in over here, signing in, and here we are going to create a new environment, and that environment name is going to be USS Enterprise. So I can see that the old environment is not here, but that's fine. We don't care. I want to come back over here, and I am going to grab that name. And here I'm going to click on New, my USS Enterprise. Just going to make sure I put that as trial so I don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to create this. I'm going to toggle the switch to yes. Leave everything as good. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and say USS Enterprise. I'll just put as V2. Everything else is good, but now I also want to go ahead and create that security group. Now, the security group that I talked about is the one which I already have, my two people add over here. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Now, watch this. When I do that, I can just go ahead and find that PP USS Enterprise Environment SG. But as I hover my mouse on that, it says that because you are not a member of this group, you won't have access to this environment. And that's actually pretty good, because it's not assuming that, hey, every Power Platform admin should have access, should be automatically added to that group. It is giving the environment level, saying that if you're tying a security group to it, then I'm giving you the benefit that, hey, if you're not there in that group, you won't be seeing that even though you're a domain admin. So I kind of like that. But I just wanted to point that out. Whether it is or not, it is the fact. And I wanted to show what that is. So I selected that. Now I've already gone ahead and assigned for the USS Enterprise. This is my group, already assigned it. I'm going to save it, and it's going to create my environment over there. So it's creating, and any second now we should see this sign over here. It says new environment USS Enterprise is getting prepared. If you remember the previous one, it just came back and said, boom, it's done. But over here it says getting prepared, and in the state it says preparing instance. So there is a difference. I know it makes sense, but I just want to point that out. The difference is that here we are creating a database. So it has to spin up all those CDS databases. And it's more than just allowing entities for your apps. It is going ahead and setting up these back-end plumbing work for your security as well. What happens is that when you go ahead and allow people to add it to that security group, it actually goes ahead and adds it to its own entity over there, makes copies and saves it over there, but it's always only referencing that CDS over there. Because remember, that's all happening in the Dynamics CRM side, the Dynamics there. Remember we gave that URL for the Dynamics? It's all happening over there. So that's why it is very important that we have that CDS created over here, and it's all this plumbing that's happening in the back end. And that plumbing goes above and beyond just for your entities and your databases. It also affects your permissions over there. So let's give it a minute, because what happens is right now while it's creating, I can't even get to it. See, when I go to the below environment, see how my icon changes to the finger, which means there's a URL over here. Over here, I really can't do anything. So I just have to wait. So let's wait. So refresh it, and it says, hey, the new environment USS Enterprise has been created successfully. Fantastic. It says USS Enterprise, and the state is ready. And now when I hover over that and click on it, I'm able to see the environment. Whoa, this looks a lot more different than what we just saw before. Remember, over there were just two accesses, the admins and the makers. But now I have security roles. I got teams. I got users. And then I saw my security group over here. When I click on edit, I even see the option to put my security group. I see the Dynamics here on the URL over here. So there's a definitely difference over here. And this is the whole point of doing this video, to show you that yes, I can do the permissions, but things change depending on how you set up that environment, all right? So hopefully this is helping you already. So let me go ahead and now cancel out of this over here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go into settings, because you've got to now get in a little bit, do some more work. And the few things I want you to see. First is when I come over here on users and permissions, when I click on users, what you'll notice is the person who logged in as the Power Platform admin, his or her or that account will be the first one that shows up over here. So it's loading. Let's give it a second. If I'm going to refresh it, any second now you will actually see that users. And it takes a while, but that's basically how it works. Let me go in, go to users, and you will see our Power Platform, this account over here, the Power PP admin. That'll be the first account that shows up over here, all right? The other place where you'll see that first account show up is in security, in security roles. When I come to security roles, and I go in, see, just to confirm, that is our business unit. And when I go into the environment admins are also known as system administrators. So when I come to system administrators, there you go. See our Power Platform admin? By default, the Power Platform admin is the system administrator, the environment admin of this environment over there. By default, that happens. In the other situation where we did not have the CDS, I had to actually go in and add that account over there. But in this case, it happens by default, which is great. All right. Next thing is that if you pause for us, if you give it a few other minutes, you will see some other users come in. That's a little strange. I want to point that out why that happens, but we'll have to make a wait over there. So I just want to make sure that in the environment maker, we've got so far by default this virtual agents thing shows up over here. It must be tied to some other setting in my tenant. So that's in the environment maker, and then the other one we focus on is the system administrator. System administrator, the Power Platform one is already there. So what happens is, how do I add the users over here? Now, definitely I can go ahead and add the people, but the only people I have access to add over here are the two that I added to that security group. Remember the security group that we created and we added over there? Who were the two people in that security group? Oh yeah, there was James Kirk and there was Spock. Both of them were part of that security group. So as far as system administrator goes, the only one that I want to have that environment admin was actually James Kirk. So if I come over here and I start typing in for James Kirk, I should actually see that name show up over here. But just for grins and giggles, if I come in over here, and let me just go and see, is there any other user we have? Which other user do we have in this environment? So I come into my Azure AD over here, I go to users, Adele. Let me go see. Let me go see if Adele gets added over here. Okay, so I go ahead, AELE, and Adele doesn't show up over here. I mean, just to make sure, did I get her name correctly? ADELE, yep, got that name. Doesn't show up over here. Well, why did that happen? I'll tell you why that happened is because when we created that environment, we assigned a security group and there were only 2 people in that security group. If they are not part of that group, they don't show up over here. So that's why the only 2 people who will show up over here are James, which is James Kirk. James Kirk shows up, and the other one will be Spock. Spock shows up over here, all right? So since this is the system administrator, which is the environment admin level, the only one that I want as an environment admin level is going to be James Kirk. So I come over here, I type in James, and James Kirk shows up successfully. And there, and for the security roles for the system admin, which is the environment admin level, James Kirk gets access over here. So it's kind of going through its process, and that's what will happen over here. May take a few while, but yep, it was successful. 1 user and 0 teams was added to that. Teams is not your Microsoft Teams. It's actually a different topic, and I'll cover that in a different video over there. So James Kirk is added to the system administrator. Now let me go and focus on the environment maker. And in the environment maker, I'm going to go ahead and add Spock. Now in the environment admin, Mr. Spock shows up over here. But if I go ahead and again look for, say, Adele, doesn't show up. Because why? Adele is not part of that security group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do, again, Spock. Added Spock. And I go ahead and add that. And now I've got both the users taken care of over here. Now I want to pause and talk about this. It's a question that I get asked. Is that, Daniel, why is it that over here in this scenario, I don't have security groups that are added? The question is valid, but technically you've already added a security group. So the permission is still tied to that security group. Now I understand that I wish you could have like 3 security groups, right? That one is the overall security group for access to the environment. And then over here, you can go ahead and add security group for just these environment admins and then the environment makers. So right now you cannot do that, but there is that option to put that teams. And so I'm going to cover that in a whole separate section. So right now you're kind of halfway there. It is still bound by a security group that you've set up over here, but that security group is only at the environment level. Once you're in the environment, when it comes to the environment admin, which is system admin, or the environment maker, you still got to just put people individually for now. So let me go back over here outside and let's just go take a peek at how all the users are coming up. All right, so the 2 users came up, James and Spock, because we went ahead and added them into the correct groups over there, so their users show up over here. In fact, at some point we'll come ahead and even take a look at the environments. In fact, let's just take a look at it right now. Security roles. And the security roles, if you go into System Administrator, we've gone ahead and added ours over here. We've gone ahead and already had that Power Platform admin, which was used to create that. But eventually you'll see other roles come in, and other users come in, and it'll just confuse you. Where are these people coming from? And those are going to be your global admins. And that's something Power Platform or Power Apps over here and the Admin Center automatically does. Is all those users who are at the global admin level, they directly show up over here at that level as well. So kind of keep that in mind. In fact, while we're going and testing some apps over here, I'll come back and I'll show you that one example of, hey, remember the global admins I talked about? See, they're all showing up over here. So let's switch over to the other one and we'll come back over here. So now that we've got our environment created and we've got the makers and everything there, we've got the admin level, which is the security admin, and we've got the maker over there. Let's log out and log back in and make sure that they can see those things. So I'm going to go and sign out from here. Yeah, I want to sign out. Hang on a moment. All right, hang on a moment. We'll hang on for a while. Good idea to close the browser. Same thing over there. Sign out. Yep, I can sign out. So let's go back in now, and I'm going to sign in right here. Sign in as our environment maker, which is the CDS environment. And that person is James Kirk. He is the environment admin, also known as the system admin there. So logging in, and this time when we log in, we should see our USS Enterprise. Now, keep in mind, just a reminder, that James Kirk also has that CDS license. So that is a very important thing that you need to remember. Don't forget that. Okay? Logged in. We are into Power Apps over here as the maker, make.powerapps.com. And when I come in over here, I should see the other one. Now, it does take a while for it to sometimes load. So what we can do is we can come over here. We can go to the Admin Center and just take a look. Sometimes it can take a while for it to load, especially in this case, because remember that environment, it took a little bit longer for it to load. So it can take a while over here. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go back to my Azure AD and I'm going to look at James. Hey, it was actually a James. Look at James Kirk. Just make sure James has the correct license assigned. Yep, has the correct license assigned. So what we'll do is we'll give James a few seconds, a few extra minutes. I'm going to sign out and let's log in as Spock, because Spock is the environment maker. So technically, Spock needs to have the first access because he's the one who's going to jump in and start making apps. So let's go and see how Spock's situation is doing, all right? Again, sign out. It's very well possible that Spock also might take a while, because remember, it took a while for that environment to be even created successfully. I actually paused my video for that. So this could also very well take a few extra minutes. But let's just validate. So come in over here. Go in private view. Log into Power Apps. Sign in. Put in the URL, the account. Let me go grab the password. Put that in over here. Yep, that's fine. Hopefully everything has gone through. We're logging in. Done. And there you go. Spock, who is the environment maker, he is already seeing the the USS Enterprise. It's always just a little bit about the timing issue, not issue, but about the timing specifics. By the time he actually logged in over here, Spock was already got himself set up. His account was set up by the Power Platform. I bet you now if you go and see Kirk, we'll also see the USS Enterprise. But since we're here already as Spock, let's go ahead and create an app in this environment. And for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to create that very similar app that I already have. So I'm coming in over here. I'm going to go ahead and just, yeah, that's fine. Get started, browse. I'll grab that same app that I have because I'm putting it in a completely separate environment. The one which has CDS turned on, created by Spock over here, who's the maker. But we'll go ahead and give McCoy, who's just an everyday user, access, and we'll see how that works. Save. All right, so I can go and now close it. Close. Refresh. Click on that. I want to share it. This time, again, we can check to see, does McCoy, who is not part of any of that security group, does he show up over here? Or do I need to add him to that security group? So this is an ultimate test, but yep, he shows up. So another very important lesson for you to learn is that just like we had in that other environment without CDS, in this environment, even though it is with CDS, and yes, it has a security group, that security group only applies to the environment admin and the environment maker. It does not apply over here when it comes to the users. Anybody who is part of your tenant, as long as he or she has the correct license, can be added over here. All right, it's a very, very important thing. Now, again, adding this over here, I mean, this is a little out of the scope, but you just got to make sure the person has access to the backend databases and whatnot as well. So what I'm going to do is for this one, I'm going to come in over here in details, and I'm going to grab this URL because this URL is different from the other one, and that is why I put it over here. Because even, let me make sure. Yep, see if right here. You can see that even though the app one or the tenant ID is the same one, the environment ones are completely different. So that's the reason I kept this over here so you can see it, that these are two separate environments, all right? Now, let's go back and log in as our favorite everyday user, McCoy, and see how things work out for McCoy. Because remember, McCoy just has an everyday M365 license. Whatever he had, which worked for him for the non-CDS or the non-database one, let's see if it works over here with CDS, because things are a little bit different, but let's test. Get my McCoy's username. Go grab his password. Here, logging in. And we've already logged in as McCoy, so we know that that part is fine. We haven't made any changes to him, so we pretty much know that, hey, this is the only environment he's got access to. Let's go grab that URL off that environment which has got CDS in, and let's see if he can see that app. And it looks like it's loading, and lo and behold, that app still shows up, which means as long as the McCoy had access to the backend data source, he is able to see that app over there without any errors. Now, in this case, if that app was built on CDS, we would have had to elevate McCoy's permissions over there. All right. So just keep that in mind, that in the other environment, it was all, just for M365 because there was no CDS. In this case, it's a separate environment which has CDS over there, a database source. So if you are using any of those database sources, you will have to elevate his licensing over here. But that's a separate discussion altogether. The point I've made is that I was able to still access, even though the app is in a completely separate environment, as long as he had access to the app and had the URL, he was able to add it successfully. So let's review all that we did today. We went through two different scenarios. Scenario number one was we created an environment without the database over there, and we went ahead and gave the environment admin, the environment maker. They were able to go in and see all their environments over there. We created a separate environment. Both of them were able to go in, see over there, create the app. The environment maker was able to get the URL and share it with that everyday user, and it worked. Second scenario is we created an environment with the database option turned on. The toggle switch was set to on. Over there, we actually applied our security group that we got from Azure AD. Then using that security group, we had 2 users over there. And because they were part of that group, we went ahead and got our environment admin set up over there. Now we also got an environment maker set up over there, and it just worked. So we went through these 2 separate scenarios, but in the back end, I walked you through how the users and everything was done, and we were successfully able to achieve all this. And I want to prove that to you that all of this is doable. There is a good security role set up to it, but there are 2 separate instances, and you got to keep that in mind, is how your environment is set up over there, and that is what I proved. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like and comment on my videos. And as always, keep power apping.